Now, as the brother of a retired police officer, I know that the overwhelming majority of our brave men and women in uniform do their jobs honorably. They do them with integrity and often at great personal risk. The Civil Rights Division's efforts are simply meant to ensure that law enforcement officers in every part of the United States live up to those same high standards of professionalism.
There can be no doubt that mistakes were made in the shooting of an unarmed man in Ferguson, Missouri. Law enforcement is often faced with impossible situations requiring split-second timing to protect not only the general public but themselves. But the fallout from Ferguson is poised to do much more than correct wrongs. Led by an attorney general with a directive and power from the President of the United States, we're in the midst of seeing a serious and dangerous erosion of the authority cops need to do their job. And that has one veteran defender more than a little angry. Let's welcome to Midpoint the former Assistant Director of the FBI Criminal Division and now President of the Law Enforcement Legal Defense Fund, Ron Hosko. Ron, thanks so much for being here today.
I'm happy to be with you.
Ron, the Attorney General talks a good game when he mentions the fact, and we do say this over and over again, that there are a number of very good police officers out there who strive to do their job every day. But in your opinion and that of many others, it doesn't seem as if the DOJ actually backs them up. When a cop gets shot, you don't see a lot of people screaming to get something done right away, do you?
Well, that's a good point, and we've seen that repeatedly this summer. We have seen both the Attorney General and representatives from the White House rush out to Ferguson, Missouri in the wake of this incident, but in equally tragic incidents across the country this summer, we've heard no outcry from this Attorney General or the President. I can cite at least 3 instances, and I know there are more, where good, heroic law enforcement officers lay dead and dying in the streets and were memorialized quietly by their friends and colleagues with no similar response from DOJ.
How angry does it make you as a law enforcement official when you hear some people say that, well, the police are there to protect, this is their job, they understand the responsibility, and I have heard people use the phrase acceptable losses before. These are still human lives, and they're trying to protect people.
That's right. I've read and seen in my prior career, time after time, where these young officers are losing their lives in the line of duty, being heroes, and leaving behind a trail of tears, where they almost always have a spouse and young children, all too young, giving up their lives to protect our society from great harm and from bad people.
In your opinion, then, why does the President of the United States and the Attorney General not spend more time focusing on these deaths?
I struggle to understand that. And my concern is that the statements that hang in the air from both the President and from the Attorney General are those that suggest that the police are biased, that race plays a significant role in their decision making. And I think that leaves the door open for greater lawlessness, for less respect for the role of the police and law enforcement in our society, and creates an opportunity for those who push back, particularly the criminal element, to be louder and louder.
About a minute or so left, then we'll take a break. We have much more to talk about, but what is this doing to the morale of the police that are there, knowing full well that they are targets and they do not have their own government at their back?
Right. It does give the many good and honorable police, which we can count in the hundreds of thousands in our country, the sense that they are at greater risk, that they are at greater risk of prosecution if they have to use deadly force, or any force for that matter, that their government does not have their back, and in fact their government is raising questions about their own integrity.
In your opinion, the way that the Attorney General speaks and the way the President does not back it up and doesn't speak out, is this then creating a greater sense of harm and a greater possibility that the general public themselves could be injured when the cops simply are wary to pull the trigger?
I think it does raise that concern within law enforcement that they will be slower to use force, slower to pull their weapon out when they need to, and that the cost of that will be in additional lives of our protectors, of our law enforcement.
Ron Hosko, please stand by a couple of minutes because we're going to be back after the break. The danger of virtual sanctuaries for criminals and why we're falling woefully behind in protecting people from these crooks. And later on this hour, the city that is on a high on a gubernatorial race. Other politics, well, they're on a high for that, among other things. Cityscape will take us to Denver. That and a whole lot more coming up right here on Midpoint, where every day we question everything.